we're doing something with a vegetable that many of us grow but not a lot of us respect, and that's your traditional green bell pepper. Most of us now kind of say, oh, I like the red one or the orange one or the yellow one or the purple one, but this one's got a lot going for it. And today we're going to do something that's very traditional in the Basque culture, and it's called Piperade, or pepper sauce. It's how we're going to translate it. So I'm going to start with about a cup of onion that I thinly sliced. And I'd use a yellow onion or a white onion for this. We're going back to the basic vegetables here. And then I've got 2 medium bell peppers that are just kind of coarsely chopped. And I had 3 tablespoons of olive oil in the pan. You could use another type as well. And then a half a teaspoon of kosher salt. We're just going to stir these together, and we're going to let them saute at a fairly low temperature because we want the onions to become more translucent, but we want it to happen real slowly. We don't want any browning going on as we do this. So we're going to, again, turn the heat down fairly low and let this go for about 10 minutes before we add anything else to it. So this one is really simple, but it's going to take around a half an hour to actually get the cooking done. Okay, you can see that the onion has become fairly translucent and the peppers are still holding their shape, which is our goal. We're going to add to this now 4 cloves of garlic. You could either use the bottled version or you can do the mincing and peeling and the whole shebang yourself. But this we don't want to cook very long, maybe about a minute. So you need to have the next few ingredients ready to go because the next one is actually one that's going to take a fair amount of time. What it is 2 cups of Roma tomatoes. Now they start out looking like this as opposed to a slicing tomato. The idea is that they have more meat, less liquid in them. I did catch as much juice as I could, but you need to blanch them, which means you're going to put them in boiling water, submerge them in boiling water for 30 to 60 seconds. It's real helpful if you make a real light X on the bottom with a knife, and that enables you to see whether you need to leave them in for 30 seconds or for a minute. Because it'll start to peel back and you'll know that they're ready to come out of the hot water and go immediately into cold water, ice water preferably, until they cool down. And then you can peel them, chop them, core them as necessary. So we've got 2 cups of those, which 4 or 5 of them. Those are going to go in here. And the next ingredient that we're going to add is about a teaspoon of sugar to cut some of the bite on the tomatoes. And then a really interesting one that actually makes this from the area of the world that it should be almost. We're taking some liberties with it because we don't live in the south of France or the north of Spain. So what I have here is a half a teaspoon of hot paprika. Now this is opposed to regular paprika or smoked paprika. It's not exactly the pepper, the ground pepper that they would use in that part of the country, but it's closest to it. It looks very much like cayenne, but cayenne is going to be way more hot. On the Scoville scale, it may be up at 30,000 as opposed to the hot paprika, which is going to be more around 4,000 to 6,000. So it's substantially less of a dramatic taste, but it gives it enough of a bite and enough of that traditional feel in your mouth that it is as close as we can come without ordering special ingredients online. What we're going to do now is going to put a lid on this. We're going to let it simmer at a low heat, stirring it from time to time for about 15 minutes. We want it to cook long enough that the flavors have had time to blend together, but we don't want the peppers and the onions to actually lose their shape. We want to still be able to tell what's what here when we get to eating it. So about 15 minutes, and we've got one more ingredient, and then we'll be ready to eat. All right. Looks great. It's just where I want it to be. Now you'll notice that there's still quite a bit of liquid here, so it kind of depends on what you're going to do with it. It is a pepper sauce, and you could serve it over a pasta or over rice. Very often this particular dish is served with a fairly blandly seasoned kind of fish or poultry because it itself has a lot of flavor. So depending on how you're serving it, you may want to leave all this liquid. You have the option, however, of leaving it in the pan with the lid off for about 5 minutes and evaporating some of that liquid. And I'm going to take the other option, and I'm going to take it off the heat at this point, or at least turn the heat off. And I'm going to stir in 2 tablespoons of capers. Now, capers are buds of the caper bush that have been pickled, usually in a salt brine, sometimes a salt and vinegar brine, and then they go ahead and can them. These particular ones are non-peril, which simply is a reference to size. You'll often see that phrase on the package or on the bottle of capers. So I'm going to go ahead and stir these in. You might, if you've not tried capers before, try them before you stir it all in, or take some out and stir it in a little bit, so you can decide if in fact capers are something that you want to add to it. They are an option. They're not traditional from the Basque part of the country. They're actually more traditional for southern Italy. Now, what I'm going to do with this, you have several options. As I mentioned, you could serve it along a mildly seasoned fish or poultry. What I have actually done is put it inside of a grilled cheese. So you can see that in there with a little bit of just a cheddar cheese and a whole grain or a multi-grain bread. You could also do it in one that's plain, just a regular traditional grilled cheese, and serve it on the side. Either way, it's a great addition. Maybe we don't always have to have tomato soup with our grilled cheese. Maybe we can expand our taste buds and expand our world and do something a little bit different. I hope you'll try this recipe. It's Piperade for Oklahoma Gardening. I'm Barbara Brown.